Kenya is navigating a complex and pivotal moment in its economic development. Buffeted by domestic fiscal pressures, the government is pursuing a multi-pronged strategy to stabilize its finances, attract foreign capital, and position itself as a central trade and logistics hub. As Kenya's budget bleeds red ink, a crucial financial lifeline remains frozen, with the World Bank holding the key, and the price is a painful squeeze on public spending that every citizen will feel. This is the rundown. Welcome. My name is Mark Karanja. The current standoff between Kenya and the World Bank is not a sudden crisis, but the culmination of a decade-long economic narrative defined by ambitious growth, escalating debt, and the increasingly stern counsel of its international partners, primarily the International Monetary Fund, IMF. For the next 3 minutes or so, allow me to provide context in 3 acts and shed more light with regards to this sovereign debt crisis that is plaguing Kenya. Viewer, kindly follow through. The first act is known as the ambitious era, which was between the years of 2013 and 2018. The seeds of the current predicament were sown during a period of robust economic optimism. Driven by the ambitious Vision 2030, the government of Kenya embarked on a massive infrastructure spending spree. Flagship projects like the Standard Gauge Railway, new highways, and port expansion were launched with the aim and goal of transforming Kenya into a successful middle-income country and the gateway to East Africa. To finance this project, Kenya turned to international partners, securing and being issued its first Eurobond, nicknamed Africa's Lion, for its economic potential and the influx of foreign investment it brought with it. However, as domestic revenue collection lagged, the government supplemented this with massive commercial loans from Chinese banks that were tied to the SGR. Public debt, both external and domestic, began its steep, relentless climb. The second act, or Act 2, the gathering storm. By the end of the 2010s, warning lights were flashing. Debt servicing costs began to consume part of the national budget, crowding out spending on essential services. The global COVID-19 pandemic was an external brutal shock, devastating key sectors like tourism, forcing the government to borrow even more for emergency services like healthcare. It was at this critical juncture that Kenya formally returned to the IMF for financial support, signing a 38-month financial program in 2021. The initial rationale was survival. The IMF provided a crucial lifeline to stabilize the currency, build foreign reserves, and support the budget during a time of unprecedented crisis. The third act, termed the Squeeze and the Pushback. As the pandemic receded, the IMF shifted from crisis support to long-term debt sustainability. The conditions of the program became more stringent and politically painful. The government, caught between its IMF commitment and public discontent, had to put some measures in place. The Finance Act of 2023 introduced a host of other new taxes, most notably the controversial 1.5% housing levy and a doubling of VAT on fuel to 16%. While aimed at broadening the tax base as per the IMF advice, it triggered widespread public anger, with critics arguing it disproportionately burdened the common Wanjiko. This, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, is the immediate context for the World Bank's $750 million loan freeze. The World Bank, a sister institution to the International Monetary Fund, operates in close coordination. Its decision to withhold funds is a direct signal that Kenya is not meeting the fiscal discipline that it ought to meet according to the IMF and World Bank criteria. Its decision to withhold funds is a signal that Kenya is not meeting the benchmark of fiscal discipline that both institutions demand. The IMF has been the architect of the fiscal consolidation plan and the World Bank is holding Kenya to it. The World Bank's new conditions for the disbursement of the $750 million loan to Kenya underscores the profound challenge that Kenya has with public debt and fiscal management. The requirement to further narrow its budget deficit puts the national government at a very challenging position. The two tools to achieve this are politically sensitive and economically contractional: additional tax increases or austerity measures. What are some of the implications of tax increases? Further tax hikes coming on the heels of recent Finance Act measures risks stifling economic growth, burdening an already taxed citizenry, and potentially dampening business investments. The government must walk a fine line between revenue generation and the goose that lays the golden eggs. What are some of the implications of austerity measures? Cutting public spending might mean reduction in funding for critical avenues such as healthcare, infrastructure, and education. This could very well reduce the Vision 2030 agenda and the better agenda in achieving its goals. The situation highlights Kenya's continued reliance on and accountability on Western countries financing them. What are some of the topics that you, our viewer, would like discussed? What are some of the trends in the market, news making headlines in the world of economy and business in Kenya and Africa with relation to global forces and international partners? Email us and we'll take a look at them, because this is also your show. Thank you for watching.